Hello everyone and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. Today I will show you how I painted blueberries, and if you want to see step-by-step real-time tutorial painting blueberries and the rest of the berries on this painting, I do have it on my Patreon, so link is in the right corner and also in the description. To paint it, I did use this Centenaire watercolor paper. This is 100% cotton, 300 GSM or 140 pounds. It is also cold press. For the watercolors, I used Sennelier and colors Fuchsia quinacridone, one dyek brown, sap green, indanthrene blue, Phtalo turquoise, and burnt umber. And from the white nights, I did use some sepia. For the brushes, this time I used Raphael number 8 round brush, Panart number 2 detail brush, and Altenew number 3 brush. So I will be starting with picking up some indanthrene blue and painting in the entire berry. I did not wet the paper, I'm painting wet on dry, so after that picked up some more saturated indanthrene blue and added a few dots, drop in few dots on my berry, and then with just a clean water move that around, soften the edges. Now I've added some Fuchsia quinacridone to my indanthrene blue and dropping in a bit of that pigment around, and then with clean water just softening the edges. Paper is still wet in some spots, so where it is wet, paint is bleeding and blending, and very dried, I'm, after adding the pigment, rinsing my brush and with the clean water just again softening the edges. Now I've added a little bit of the sepia to my indanthrene blue and Fuchsia quinacridone, and I'm gonna paint in the center, rinsing my brush, drying it onto paper towel, and then just moving the paint again around, creating some different tones and different values. With burnt umber, I'm gonna add a bit more of the details to the center. This part is now dry, and you can see how my edges are sharp. If I want to soften them, I'm using just a clean water. I did do the same thing for the rest of the two berries, and now that I'm done, I left it to dry, and when it's dry, I again wetted the paper with just a clean water on my berry, and then dropping in pigment, dropping in some indanthrene blue, and mix with Fuchsia quinacridone, then adding a little bit of the sepia for the darkest tones, and dropping those in here and there, just again minding all the time to leave the highlight, the white spot, and also adding a little bit of the highlight with just droplets of water. And since the paint is now wet, you can see how the water is moving pigment around and creating some beautiful textures on our berries. A bit more of the pigment here and there. Again, some clean water in my brush. I'm gonna lift a little bit of the paint and add a few highlights. I'm gonna dry that and do the same thing to the rest of the berries, and after everything is dry, picked up some Phtalo turquoise, mixed in with sap green and indanthrene blue just a tiny bit to create a turquoise color. I did a light glaze on top of my berry just to add that turquoise tone to it. Again, dried it completely, and now with a mix of indanthrene blue and sepia, I'm painting in the darkest parts of my berry, that central part. And then picking up some Van Dyke brown. This part is now dry, so I'm painting wet on dry. A little bit of the sepia. And then finishing off with some indanthrene blue. And I'm gonna lift a little bit of the paint to create a highlight there. And then add a bit more of the mix of indanthrene blue and sepia to the darkest parts again. I did leave it to dry, and now I'm gonna paint in the leaf. Again, same thing I did do for the rest of the berries. That's just a pattern how I painted all of the berries. For the leaf, I'm using some sap green and then just dropping in a little bit more of the saturated. I did paint it wet on dry and picked up a little bit more of the pigment, more saturated sap green, added that to drop that to the leaf, and now added some indanthrene blue to sap green, and I'm gonna do some details. Creating textures and variety in color value on my leaf. Again, minding to leave spot lighter for the highlight. Also lifting a little bit of the pigment for the veins. Same thing I'm gonna do for the rest of the leaves, and leave this one to dry. And after it dried, I'm picking up a little bit more of the indanthrene blue and sap green mix, painting in the central vein. And when I finished all of the leaves and the berries, I'm just adding the background, couple of splatters. And I did leave it to dry, and after it dried, I decided to lift a little bit of the paint to create even stronger highlight in some spots. You can just see me now scrubbing with the tip of my brush and just the clean water in it. And then after it, I picked up some indanthrene blue and sepia, quite saturated, to add the darkest parts again to create a stronger contrast. Couple of more splatters, and with that I'm done. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and this quick demonstration of how I painted these berries and leaves. And as I said earlier, for the full tutorial step by step, check out my Patreon. There is a link in the description box. If you do like this video, please hit the like button, share it, and comment. If you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. I have many tutorials here. I'm sure you will find something for yourself. And again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!